tell you that this will help you, you gotta say, is this a fixed permanent? No, it's just temporary. Okay, then I don't want it. Give me the permanent.
I do think, my doctor just got married, young, he said you're still
read this,
active.
right?
So you can I can no longer move anymore.
That's a good sign.
And that's what it said. So now I so yeah, I'm alive. It got worse.
Good.
So just Mr. Berkeley missing, I guess?
No, Giampolo.
He said he's coming at exactly.
No, Berkeley.
No, John, Giampolo.
Right. Jason and John, both aren't here. No,
But Jason will get here.
But Jason
said
is
he's
coming,
coming.
yeah.
Jason will, he always finds it.
Is the sound on?
Yes,
Everything's on?
yep.
Ready, Francine? Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the zoning board meeting of March 19th. Call to order.
I hereby announce pursuant to Section 5 of the Open Public Meetings Act that adequate notice of this meeting has been transmitted on January 14th, 2024 by the Board Administrative Officer to the Asbury Park Press, the Two River Times, the Township Clerk, and has been posted in the meeting room and in the entrance hall in Town Hall, all pursuant to Section 13 of the Open Public Meetings Act.
Roll call.
Mr. Berkeley, I think he's just running late.
Running late.
Ms. Campus,
Here.
Ms. Gerhard,
Here.
Mr. Giampolo, absent. Mr. Luciani.
Here.
Mr. Orfanitopoulos.
Here.
Mr. Marzola.
Here.
Ms. Costello. And Mr. Frigiola.
Here.
Thank you.
Okay, please stand for Pledge of Allegiance and a moment of silence. Please remain standing for that, and we will honor our police and military and EMS workers. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. For the record, Jason just walked in.
For the record, 7:02, Mr. Berkeley walked in. Thank you.
Okay, minutes from March 5th, 2025. Did everybody get a chance to review it? Did they send any comments to our board secretary? No? Everybody's good? Okay, so if everybody's good with the minutes, can I have a motion from somebody?
Motion to accept the minutes from March
5th,
5th.
I'll second it.
okay. Roll call.
Eligible to vote, Mr. Berkeley,
Yes.
Ms. Campus,
Yes.
Ms. Gerhard,
Yes.
Mr. Orfanopoulos,
Yes,
Ms. Costello.
okay.
The minutes for March 5th were successfully approved. Thank you.
Okay, before we go into executive session, I'd like to seat Angela for John, alternate number 1, okay?
That's correct.
Okay, Marty, you want to say something?
No, just read that, there's the next item, right, exec?
Exec session?
Yep.
So,
Just need a motion to go into.
no, I know that, but I didn't know if you wanted to say anything why we're going to
No,
exec session.
just to review legal standards, just to review legal standards for various applications that we have coming up.
Okay, so can I have a motion to go in executive session?
I'll motion to go to executive session.
Second?
Second. I'm sorry.
Roll,
All in favor?
yeah, voice vote, yes. Okay, so what do we do, leave the thing running, and the video running?
Turn the sound off and leave the video on, because last time you couldn't get it back up, we couldn't get it back up.
No, we will just stop recording. It will be streaming.
And we're going to leave the room and go upstairs to have executive session. We'll be back. So hold on to your hats. Do we need any notes? Want to jump on my back, Lori, and I'll take you up?
Sure. Here, with your shoulder, we should be fine.
No, it's the shoulders for my back.
it on the phone for her. Christina was telling me that. I was just talking loud. I'm sorry, I told him. Is the management license there? She can't help you guys. No, hopefully in June. I'm right.
And then the thing is you gotta figure out which jobs to incorporate them.
Right, I was thinking that the new charities.
Yeah.
So I don't think it's gonna be easy, you know. Right, well, especially with girls. With a million square feet and you go flying through, you think you're gonna get, yeah. That's what I tell them.
And then it's also the type of client.
Right. Right. Yeah, we're trying to figure that one out. Oh, she's good. Oh, she knows, like, she does these things to me on, I can tell. Yeah, they're architectural. You don't have to write a book, but it's good learning. Like, she knows, she has all.
Writing it out, writing those out, helps you learn the style really well.
Oh, yeah, they're great for me, but I'm like, listen, when you go to your first hearing to testify, you're not reading this stuff. You know, but you need to know, and you need to be confident in talking to them about it.
Oh, yes.
So she gets that, but she's like, we have some very good questions. I got you. Send me to some rec variances for. Those are probably the closest ones. Whatever, easy stuff. I mean, I had an outpatient that's kind of down in Washington, it was out there.
Know which one looks nice?
It was just a bunch of sign variances. Washington.
Is it Hanover? Is it Hanover?
You know, it's great traffic, it's 2 roads, you know, you need visibility.
Oh, there's that one.
They didn't want to hear the traffic experts, so I was just gonna rely on.
Yeah, you're right, there is
the
one,
experts.
there's one, you gotta.
Yeah, that's
I
one.
wanna say 5, 6 years ago.
So I was like, hey,
It's like a
I kind of
picture
played the
building,
whole
it's
motorist driving by, you know, that's good visibility.
Maybe it's Florham Park.
I did one. Strap shot. They said, we don't wanna hear, it's funny, you know,
He wants the park better, the closer development.
Yeah, the one in the, oh, that's Wall, right, not that one.
Texas baseball.
I feel bad, because I have a hard, yeah, I have a hard pronounce that name too. I'm messing his name up too, Joe. He, this guy, I've never seen a planner, I don't know what that is. He basically was like, they were drunk. That's his thing, I think. I was like, oh my God, this guy is running this meeting. The planner, he did the engineering.
Who's this?
What's his name?
Oh, Jay.
Francois Villa,
Yeah, Dave Trongo, yeah, he's with, he used to be with Remington and Burnick, now he's with Turk.
Turret, that's right.
He's a good guy.
He's a very good guy.
Here in Washington Township, Gloucester County.
That's where I was last night.
He runs the whole show.
That's what I was saying, yeah.
He runs, they just defer to him.
It's amazing. I've never
But,
seen.
but what's interesting is, his partner, Fred Turek, if you go to Bordentown, it's the opposite, Fred runs it.
Huh.
They like really, yeah, they're actually really nice guys, but they're the type, they're the type of people, like, if you work with them pre-hearing and figure it all out,
Right.
and you pretty much do what they want, it goes smoothly,
Yeah.
and they will back you up.
Right.
They won't like say, okay,
Yeah,
Now we got it.
he actually reached out to
he's good.
our attorney up front. He said, listen, I got this issue and this issue, let's resolve it. And it was great.
The attorney doesn't say a word.
Oh, it was, I was shocked by that. He
You
didn't
have the
say,
zoning board or the planning board?
planning board. Yeah.
Yeah, it's an interesting, it's a big town too.
It's,
It's a huge, like, for that area, it's like one of the like more important, bigger towns. He runs the whole thing.
yeah, I was completely, because I've never seen
He's cool, he's a good guy.
a planner especially run the show. Usually it's the engineer takes the lead. But the engineer didn't say a word. They had a traffic guy there as well, didn't say a word. And he was like,
Yeah.
well, let's just go through the letters. You're gonna agree to this.
Yeah, he's like almost like their, like, he's like the representative of everything. Yeah, I know what you're saying. Yeah.
Very nice guy.
You're right.
What do you think for tomorrow night? Any word from anyone from the town about the seminar?
Yeah, just,
mics are still on here. This? Forward?
Yeah.
And when am I gonna get it back?
Francine forgot her purse, she'll be right back.
You forgot what?
No, go get your purse, she's locking it up.
Yeah, get that.
Oh, yeah. That's gonna be all locked up upstairs. Although we're gonna have them take talk up there, doesn't it, intro? Oh, okay, just be easier, this way it stops. Forgot this mic is on. Just when everybody's coming down. Don't start the meeting yet.
Because of the cane, sorry, Marty, because of the cane, like, I didn't even think to bring it.
I meant to say last night, when you send those plans out, last night, the updated ones.
I saw
Pick
it.
it up because I don't want to disrupt the
Senegal?
table and I'm going, I should have just picked it up.
Everyone had a stack of, just, yeah, I like.
Oh, you want hard copy?
yeah.
Oh, I have it. Okay,
Yeah.
No
I use-
problem.
I use it for my little foot one, the resolution.
Oh, I didn't know you wanted, I would've, oh,
I
yeah.
don't bring them here, but all those plans, like,
Oh, no problem, yeah.
again?
Where do you want me to put it?
All right, ready? We're back from executive session. Can I have a motion to get back into regular session?
Make a motion to get into back into regular session.
Second?
I'll second that.
Okay.
7:35, zoning board of Homedale Township is back to regular session, thank you.
Okay, Francine, item number 1.
Zoning Board of Adjustment, case 2024, Danny Realty, LLC, 2122 State Highway 35, Homedale, New Jersey, 07733, Block 51.01, lots 1, 2, and 3, use and bulk variance relief.
You're on.
Get on. Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Jason Tuvel, attorney for the applicant. This is an application for block 51.01, lots 1 through 3. Thank you very much. The site's currently improved with an existing gas station and convenience store. I'm sure the board is fully aware of the property, but just for the record, the lot is an undersized lot. It's surrounded by roads on all sides, meaning the Jug Handle, Route 35, and Laurel Avenue. So it's sort of an island onto itself. The site is also somewhat sloped from north to south. So it's somewhat of a unique property. The applicant is looking to upgrade the site as they've purchased it in 2023, so they haven't owned it for that long. The site's an older gas station with convenience stores that everybody's aware, and the goal is to expand the existing convenience store by approximately 1,498 square feet to add a Dunkin' Donuts aspect to the convenience store, which has become somewhat common nowadays. There's no drive-through. I know everybody has the plans, but just to be clear, there's no drive-through proposed with the Dunkin' Donuts. It's just a store that's associated with it. So in addition to the Dunkin' Donuts aspect of it, there'll be upgrades to the architecture of the existing building, not only to the part that's being expanded, but also to the existing building as well. So we think that there's going to be substantial upgrades by way of aesthetics when it comes to the building. In addition to that, the applicant has proposed new landscaping throughout the site. There'll be new lighting throughout the site, as well as related site improvements. What I think is important in connection with this application is although we're expanding the building, and although the lot is slightly undersized, the application will comply substantially with lot coverage. So in your zone in which the property is located, you're allowed up to 60% lot coverage, and even with the building addition, we're going to be at 51.1%, which is exactly what exists today. In fact, we're slightly reducing the lot coverage. It's very nominal, but we're not increasing it over what's out there today, and we're also well under what's permitted. Same thing with building coverage. Your ordinance permits 20% building coverage in this zone, and we're going to be at about 11%, so again, well under. And then finally, I also wanted to point out FAR. You're allowed a 0.2 FAR in this zone, and we're at 0.06, which is well under what's permitted. So the site is not, we're not overbuilding the site, we're keeping within the confines of what's there today. Just so the board's aware, while we're presenting, in terms of just operations, the only thing from a delivery standpoint that'll change is that for the Dunkin' Donuts, there'll be one additional box truck that comes per day to deliver the goods that the Dunkin' Donuts needs to service its customers, and that'll come in the overnight period, not during peak hours. So it's really one delivery per week that's changing. The rest of the operations of the site will remain the same as it relates to the gas station and the convenience store that aren't proposed to change. So I have 3 witnesses, Mr. Chairman, that I plan on calling in connection with this application. We'll have John Palis, who's our civil engineer from Dynamic Engineering, Nicholas Verderisi, who's our traffic engineer from Dynamic Traffic, and Justin Osceola, who's our professional planner. From a procedural perspective, we called this a D1 variance, I think somewhat conservatively, but I think it's the right thing to do in talking with your planner. Although Dunkin' Donuts now are somewhat, I would say, combined with these convenience stores regularly, that's viewed in your ordinance as a restaurant. So we have 2 principal uses on the site, which is the gas with convenience and the restaurant. So that's not permitted. So that's where the D variance is implicated in connection with this application. We've reviewed the board engineer's report. We think we can comply with everything set forth in that review letter, and we will address some of the other letters that we received from your environmental commission, traffic, et cetera. So with that, Mr. Chairman, that's my introduction. I'd be happy to call my first witness with your permission.
Before you start,
Sure.
go ahead.
No, we're gonna just have our planner.
Sure.
Well,
Absolutely.
before we even do that,
Oh, yeah,
we didn't,
Escrows and conflicts.
yeah, make sure that we're okay with all paperwork. and
We're good.
We're good, and does any board member have any conflicts with anybody that you see out there or with the property? I mean, I know people probably buy gas maybe from there, so that's not really a conflict. So, anything else, anybody? No?
No.
Okay, so what we're gonna do first is we're gonna have our planner talk a little bit about the variances and a few other points.
Okay.
And then you could begin with your witness when she's done.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Go ahead, Kate.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Do we need to be sworn in? Were we sworn in?
Oh, yes,
Yes,
yeah.
okay.
Let's swear in both our professionals.
You swear to testimony about to give tonight is the truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
I do.
So for the record, our professionals have been sworn in.
Do you want to swear theirs too?
We'll do it when,
Okay.
Okay. So thanks, Mr. Chairman. Thanks, Jason, for the introduction.
Keep the mic near you,
Yeah,
Kate.
okay, great. Sure, I'm not going to go through the details. I think Mr. Chuvel just did that. But essentially, this is an existing site. The applicant purchased it per the tax records I saw, and also per Jason's, which he just his introduction in 2023, and they're seeking to do some upgrades on the property. The existing fueling station use is not changing. They're keeping the same number of pumps. They're keeping the canopy where it is. The change that's proposed is to expand the existing building, so it would have a convenience store and a Dunkin', and it would also have a variety of site improvements, including landscaping, new parking stalls, recurbing, repaving, and updating the architecture of the existing building. And I'll let their witnesses go into all those details there. So yeah, so this is kind of a unique situation here in terms of the variances, because there is two things. One is, I will be, brutally honest and say that there's an error in the township ordinance. I'm not sure how this happened, but essentially at some point this property is located in the Route 35 highway overlay zone. And just as a brief review, that zone was created by ordinance in 2023 with the idea that there would be something cohesive along Route 35, because at the time, there was there still is kind of a mishmash of, former industrial zones, of commercial zones, that allow there's even the commercial industrial zone. So, there's a variety of zones there, and the idea was that an overlay would kind of create a more cohesive network along Route 35 as sites were developed. And at that time, one of the principal uses that was permitted, it was convenience store with or without petroleum filling stations, and that was a principal permitted use. In 2014, the Route 35 overlay was amended, and gas stations were added as a conditional use, with certain conditional use standards pertaining to same. My reading of that was that petroleum filling stations, gas stations were no longer permitted uses, which I think is still the case. Unfortunately, I was not the planner here at the time, and I don't know what the exact intention was, but just going in date order. So in that sense, and I know this is a little background, but I just want to be clear on this because I have this in my letter. But the gas stations are conditional use. They're subject to certain standards like distance from residential zones, distance from, they have to comply with the setbacks of the zone, etc. So in this case, being as conservative measure, I said in my letter that a D3 conditional use variance is required. That may not be the case because nothing associated with the gas station is actually changing. The building that's expanding is not going to have the gas station. It's going to have the Dunkin' in it. It's going to have the convenience store in it. And none of the other standards are changing in a way that would trigger that variance. So, that's for the board. I just want to put this out there, and I'll let Marty comment on it if he thinks it's appropriate. But, the conditional use variance may not be required in this case, even though I do devote a lot of space in my letter to it. That said, more importantly, the applicant does require a D1 variance for having multiple principal uses on a site. In my letter, and I believe I mentioned, talk about 3 uses: gas, convenience, and restaurant. That may be a little bit of a misnomer, as Mr. Chuvel also just said, that, and as I just stated, gas with convenience, or convenience with or without gas, is technically a permitted use in this zone. So we don't have to talk about the whole, we don't have to drill that deep into the weeds here, but the idea that whether it's 2 or 3, multiple uses are proposed on this site, and the township only allows that in cases where you meet all of the bulk requirements. This is an existing property. It does not meet all of the bulk requirements. They're exacerbating some of them. And so because of that, D1 use variance relief is required to permit multiple principal uses on a single property. So their planner, I'm sure, will address all of that when the time comes. But so, I just focus on the D1 variance. It's not a typical D1 variance in the sense where it's not, it's not that they want to do something that's prohibited in the zone or not permitted. a specific type of use, but it's rather the number of uses, which is, legally speaking, does require D1 use variance relief. So just wanted to go through that because it's a little complicated here. And then otherwise, the applicant requires, we have a few items in our report where we're asking for testimony. We'll look at that when the time comes. There's a few waivers that are required and some sign variances are required. And the applicant's experts will provide testimony on all of that. So really what we have here tonight is existing convenience store and fueling station on a site. They're adding another use onto it, which is a restaurant use per the township ordinance. D1 use variance is required because it's two principal uses on a site. So with that, unless there's any questions of me from the board right now, I would turn it back to the chairman to, proceed.
Any questions of Kate? Okay, Marty, you want to swear all their witnesses in one shot?
Okay.
So can everybody stand up?
Does everyone swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give with this application is the truth and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Okay, for the
Thank
record,
you.
They can state their names when they come up, but
That's fine.
I'll just make a note that all your witnesses have been sworn.
Okay,
Okay. So our first witness, Mr. Chairman, is John Palis, who's our civil engineer. We'll go through his qualifications so the board can accept him.
all right, so the mic there is, you can bring that over to the sign or hold it in your hand, whatever you prefer to do.
Oh.
But he needs to have it within 2-3 inches of his mouth, so it can we record everything.
Understood.
So you gotta raise it
I'm
up.
that close.
Yeah, pulls out, go ahead, keep pulling.
That's good, right? We good?
No, a little higher.
You're too tall, John.
Yeah, I'm looking at where it is, because I've heard the tape, and if you're not close, you can't hear you.
Okay.
Can I just spell your name for the record?
John Palis, P-A-L-U-S.
All right. And John, if you could just go through your professional credentials for the record, educational background, licenses held, whether it's in good standing, and your years of experience testifying as a licensed civil engineer in the state of New Jersey.
And board should testify in front of.
Certainly. I have a bachelor's and a master's civil engineering from Rutgers University. I'm a licensed professional engineer in the state of New Jersey, a licensed professional planner in the state of New Jersey. I am a co-founder and director now of Dynamic Engineering. I've been testifying for over 30 years, primarily on gas station sites, convenience store, fast food restaurants, something, essentially along these lines. I've designed several hundred sites of this nature, all primarily in New Jersey. I've testified before over 150 various planning boards and zoning boards in the state. I don't know that I've been to the zoning board here. I think I've been to the planning
Don't
board.
look familiar.
And it was a long time ago as well. But
Okay. All right, we accept your qualifications, so anybody have any questions? No? Okay,
Welcome.
thank you. I have a number of exhibits.
start marking.
How would you like, I have reduced copies I put in packages, if that helps.
Yes.
Yes, definitely.
Whatever you're presenting, everything was submitted, right?
Except for, I have two renderings, I believe.
Yeah.
I
Noth-
will identify
We'll
them
mark
when I
them
Yeah,
down.
testify.
nothing's changed. It's just
But
colorized.
The reduced copies are the actual plans, but reduced.
Yes.
Yes.
They're the,
Okay. So do we even have to do anything with that?
I had them collated, I'm sorry.
So we're gonna start marking them as you use the plans.
As I use them, thank you.
Something's up there already.
So the first exhibit is the boundary location and topographic survey prepared by Dynamic Survey. That will be A1. For the purposes of my testimony, I'll wait a second.
Hold on, let's wait until we get all this. This is one package, so just give everything to Gene. Angela, Jason,
John, I
one's
think,
gonna go to Mark.
yeah, I think Irina said you don't have to mark them as exhibits unless they're colored or renderings, right? Irina?
If this is part of actually what you submitted, we don't have to mark it.
Yeah,
This
this-
one,
Give
this
one
one
to
was,
Mark,
but
we have enough.
You already have it. We
Yes.
can do it.
Okay.
Just add
Don't,
it.
you don't have to
Grab one,
remove it.
get
You
a
don't have to
second.
We'll
remove
leave
it.
it there.
This is a lot more convenient. You won't he just need better
A little bit more
eyesight?
confusing initially, but I think it'll be easier as we go.
Yeah, yeah. So, just for the record, we are gonna mark it just because it's already marked, and we're gonna,
Yeah.
So
But going
this-
forward, we'll just do
So
the
this
ones
is
that are.
A1.
only new stuff will
Right.
mark going forward.
Okay. So referring to Exhibit A1, for the benefit of my testimony, I'm going to use the top of the page as north. The Route 35 on the exhibit runs west to east. So that is my testimony. I know it'll be a little confusing because you're used to north-south. So the property is identified as block 51.01, lots 1, 2, and 3. It's 1.91 acres, identified as 2122 Route 35 south, and Laurel Avenue. Route 35 is to the north, Laurel Avenue is to our west. And then the Route 35 jug handle wraps around our property on the east and south sides. It is a dual ramp in that it goes both ways, wrapping around clockwise and counterclockwise. My next exhibit is our aerial map exhibit, colored, which I believe is colored in the site plan package that was submitted to the board. So you have a reduced copy. I am not going to mark it for the purpose of my testimony. Again, north is to the top of the page. Here, the property is located in the B2 zone with the Route 35 Business Overlay District. It is a unique property because it's located within the jug handle. I have been in design of well over 1,000 sites in the state of New Jersey. I think there's only the second or third sites that I've dealt with it is in the middle of a jug handle. There's also an undersized lot to the north, as I indicated, is Route 35. Beyond that, we have multifamily in the R15 zone. To the east, which is to the right of the page, we have the jug handle, and then there's a vet located in the O30 zone before you hit some additional office retail further to the east of the property. Directly to our south, jug handle again, but beyond that is it's now a TD bank. Used to be a Commerce Bank. That is in the O30 zone, and then there's also a very unique portion. There's a small frontage on the jug handle as you're coming off 35, or actually coming off Laurel Ave, headed out to 35, where you would be able to pull in and out of a residential home. It's in the R40A zone. I think it's a single family. At one point, I do know that there were 2 mailboxes there, so I don't know why.
Sorry.
But best I could tell, it's 2, but it's the only way I understand you can access that property is off of the jug handle, which is
Yes,
also
correct.
very unique. So existing conditions, we have a gas station with a convenience store that operates 24 hours. Our impervious coverage sits at just over 51.5% of the property, which is below what the ordinance allows. The store is a 1,457 square foot convenience store. That's on the east side of the site. On the west side of the site, you have the canopy. You have 6 dispensers, which allows for 12 fueling positions. And then there's underground storage tanks at the southwest corner of the property. There are a total of 10 parking spaces. They're located on the west side of the building, right in front of the convenience store. Access to Route 35. On the west side, we have a 36-foot driveway that is a right-in driveway. Further to the east, we have a right-out only driveway at 31.4 feet. And on the west side of the property to Laurel Ave, which is also County Route 52, we have a full driveway with no left in currently off of Laurel Avenue, and the driveway there is 46.6 feet in width.
It's
The building was 1,457 square feet? Is that what you said?
1,457 square feet.
That's the existing building right now.
That's the existing building.
Did you say, what about you said that no left turn? There's a sign there?
Currently, there is a no left turn into the site on Laurel Ave as you're headed southbound.
Oh, okay. But not, is there a sign also saying no left turn coming out of the gas station?
There is not.
Okay.
Okay. I will need a sticker for the next exhibit.
Yeah.
Thank you.
We have lots of access.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
Are you referring to left turn onto Laurel coming out of the gas station?
Yes.
I'm looking at the survey, it says there's no left turn sign there on the right-hand side of the driveway.
Okay. I just,
I
when you
believe
said
that's
that, I
actually
didn't-
facing the other way, though, for people coming in.
Okay, because the way it's shown graphically, it's,
I checked that, I'm fairly certain that it's
Yeah.
facing that way.
So let's just mark this as A2. John, if you could just describe what this is for the record.
This is the site plan rendering, which is our landscape plan overlaying on top of the site plan and colored. As far as the improvements for the site, from an engineering design standpoint, this is relatively simple. In fact, when you pull up to the site, outside of some signage changes, you almost won't identify any changes. The driveways are staying the same, the area canopy is staying the same, the tank location is staying the same, the parking in front of the building is essentially staying the same. The addition to the building is directly behind. When you go through the existing conditions and the vegetation, it's kind of tucked away. So it's a part of the site that's actually not very visible, even driving around today with some of the vegetation that's there. It's hard to see back there. So when you really look at what's happening to the site, when you drive by people who are headed down 35 southbound, you're not going to see much of a impact to the site itself, other than some of the improvements that I'll touch base on.
Are the parking spaces to the south, are they new or they existing?
On the south side,
Right
we are proposing 10 additional parking spaces.
Great.
I will touch on that. So the building addition is 1,540.5 square feet, and that's on the east side, directly in alignment with the existing building that's there today. What we will end up with, splitting that essentially right in half, you'll have a 1,498.75 square foot convenience store, and then also 1,498.75 square foot Dunkin' Donuts. The Dunkin' Donuts will have 8 seats. From an operational standpoint, when you look at the convenience store, there's a relatively small convenience store. This is an accessory really to a site that has a gas station. I've done a number of convenience stores throughout my career, ranging from the 7-Elevens to Wawa's. This is extremely small. Neither one would take that. The branding at this point, it seems to be that is going to be a Welsh Farms. The Dunkin' Donuts, I've also done a number of Dunkin' Donuts. This is also an extremely small Dunkin' Donuts. The 8 seats is really an accessory. I don't expect that this type of use will see a lot of seating. This is a grab-and-go type of structure. Primarily, even with the parking spaces, we're providing 10 new parking spaces on the south side of the property. We have a little bit of a guardrail so the grade drops off. What you typically see at this type is people are going to park at the pumps, run in and get what they need, and then run out. Again, this doesn't have the drive-through component, so that extra convenience is not available. So that also does limit some of the traffic. I'm sure our traffic engineer will touch on that. So as I said, pumps, the canopy will all remain, the tanks remain. We are now up to 19 parking spots, which complies with the ordinance relative to size and number. Loading zones 20 feet by 35.5 feet. That's something that's not currently on the site today. The trash enclosure is located in roughly the same location on the southeast corner. It's a masonry trash enclosure with a solid door, but we have a small loading area which will accommodate the box trucks, which we are expecting for both the convenience store and the Dunkin' Donuts. The air at the back, propane storage will all remain in essentially the same place. Our impervious coverage is slightly reduced. We are going with pervious pavement for the parking spaces directly in front of the convenience store and the Dunkin' Donuts, and the 10 parking spaces on the south side of the property in order to meet the reduction. We are also, the only other site improvement is in order to help reduce that impervious is we're providing a much larger island at the northwest corner of the property, and we're landscaping that. So now I'll touch base on landscaping as well when I get to it, but the area, that's probably the primary focal point as you're coming to the intersection is that one island. It's going to be much larger than what's out there today. Deliveries, the convenience store, the fuel are all going to be the same as what's out there today. We now have the Dunkin' Donuts. This is not a kitchen. They're not doing the baking of the donuts. They're being delivered once a day. So you have the box truck that comes essentially overnight, first thing in the morning, to drop it off, and then potentially some dry goods once a week. So So from that operation standpoint, I don't expect to change. The hours of operation will remain the same. It's a 24/7 facility. The Dunkin' Donuts will follow suit on that. Employees, you know, the convenience store is usually 1 to 2 people. I think the gas station for this nature is probably 1, maybe 2 people. The Dunkin' Donuts, it's smaller than typical. If it was a little bit larger, my usual testimony is it's about 5 people on a max shift, and that's usually a very short shift. But we have provided some additional parking spaces to accommodate them. Again, people who are operating these facilities often get ride share, they bike there. I have not gotten through and checked for the public transportation accessibility, but they usually find something along those lines.
How many spots do you need, not counting employees, that you need to
Your
have?
ordinance requires, I believe it's 10 spots.
So how many do you have?
We have 19 spots.
Okay.
We are providing security cameras throughout the site. The applicant has done that on all of his other sites for security purposes. Stormwater, I testify that we are reducing it, so it is not a major project, so there is a reduction. We are below your impervious coverage threshold by about almost 10%, about 9.5%, 9%.
This is all sewer, so there's no issues with septic, right?
That's correct. It's public sewer.
And the stormwater just goes into the sewers as well, or?
There's a seepage pit, we believe, on the north side, but the majority of it sheet flows to the DOT system that's located actually in the jug handle.
Okay. And you guys will talk about the stormwater management? Discuss that.
And in addition, with the reduction or the increase of the landscape island at the northwest and the addition of the building, bless you, the balance in the impervious, we're actually reducing the motor vehicle service area, which is also, from a water quality standpoint, is an improvement as well. Utilities will remain as is. There's no changes with it. It's the owner will maintain the entire building. The lighting is essentially almost identical to what's out there today, except we're relamping the structures. I think we're moving 2 of the light poles, and then we have a couple down lights on the building. We are relamping the canopy, and all of the area lights throughout the property are being relamped. They tend to dim over time, so we went through the ordinance. I can, every time I testify on the gas station, I'm testifying to the same, that we're usually exceeding the ordinance requirements because the canopy itself usually is much brighter if you're handling cash transactions, you're pumping gas. You want that safety. It's not like a typical retail site. So for reference, our average to minimum is 9.67, where 4 is required. The max to min is 41.3, where 10 is required. And the property line, you have, I believe, a 0.3 foot candle threshold at the property line. And we do achieve that because we have the driveways out for safety purposes. DOT driveway in particular, and Laurel Avenue is also a county road. So we want safe and secure driveways. I think we have a little bit of a spillover to the south, but that's part of the DOT jug handle as well.
But in your professional opinion, John, there's no negative impacts to any of the neighboring properties as a result of the lighting?
No, I don't. In fact, I you know, for the neighboring properties, there's minimal impact. Jumping back to, it's the aerial map exhibit, which is not identified in the exhibit. You'll see that we have identified the parcel in question in a yellow line, the outline. I have a 200-foot radius in a dashed yellow line around the perimeter, and if you'll see the residential home that is on R480A in that zone, it falls beyond the 200 foot from our property. And when you look at Exhibit A2, which is our site plan development, you'll see that all the action or activity on the site, thank you, is on the west side of the property, and it essentially shelters. So the building, the rear of the building, is what really faces that residential driveway. And the property, the house itself is well over 200 feet, and with the angle of the driveway and the vegetation that's there, I don't think that there's any impact. And I think that we're cleaning up what's out there today in terms of light as well.
But what kind of lighting is it? Down lighting?
They're all down lights.
Everywhere? And there's no like spotlights on the side of the buildings facing out?
No, I think we have security lights.
Security
which would
lights,
be
that's
on the south and the east sides. Those are typically put on a motion sensor or like a
So
timer.
do they downlighting also?
They are, but there would be motion, so the only time is if there was an activity that, and it's almost like a residential house. When you would like pull up to someone's home, that type of light. It's a very small light just because there is a door there, for security purposes. If anyone was to go around the building, the light would, pop on.
That door is for what, emergency exit?
Both doors are emergency exit. I will testify, I think the architectural plan says that the rear door for the Dunkin' Donuts is for delivery. It says delivery. I think that's just a carryover. The amount of delivery to this building is relatively small. Everything goes through the front door for both uses.
You want to go through the landscaping, John?
I would. So we have a landscape architect who created a nice design. They like their job. They like doing what they're doing. It's beautiful. They focused on the main islands that are located along Laurel Avenue at the intersection with 35. And they also focused on putting quite a bit of landscaping around the jug handle. We did get some feedback from it's the Environmental Commission, right?
Correct.
There's a lot of vegetation, which we submitted is 38 shade trees, ornamental evergreens, 173 shrubs, 11 ground cover, 30 perennials, 37 ornamental grass for a total of 289 plantings. To improve the curb appeal does a tremendous job. But in light of the comment that we got from the Environmental Commission about trying to maintain some of the existing vegetation, I think when you plant a site initially, it looks very pretty when I put it up on the exhibit, but it takes a while for some of the plants to grow. So we were looking at possibly keeping 33 trees that are located on the east side of the property, as is. Try to clean up, they're not specimen trees based on what I saw, but what we would do is then supplement it with some of the trees that we're removing that are shown on the current plan. So our landscape architect would back that up with probably some evergreens, because I don't think there's too many evergreens on the east side. But if the Environmental Commission wants those trees saved, we could take 33 roughly on the east side, keep them and supplement it. Our tree shrub count will drop slightly based on what we proposed, but we were at 289, which is pretty substantial. And we still do focus on the northwest corner, the southwest corner, and the island along 35.
Right now, you can't, when you drive around sorry, can you, all right, now it's on. Right now, when you drive around the jug handle, you can't see the back of the building, I don't believe. Because I know you said that the trees, they might change a little bit from what's on the plan. Will you be able to see the back of the building with the new proposed plan?
If we keep those 33 trees, I don't think so. And like I said, we'll supplement that with some evergreens as well to make sure that there's more of a barrier. The property also sits higher, so when you're driving, you're actually lower. So even now, that's part of the reason why it's so hard to see, is because as you drive around, you're several feet below the finished floor of the existing building out there. So I don't think it would be a problem.
Thing I'm concerned about, and being that I'm on the squad, I've been there for emergencies for various purposes, including MVAs, is a left turn from the gas station onto Laurel across 4 lanes of traffic. I don't know if you're gonna say that's a traffic engineer
Yeah, we
thing,
were gonna, we saw the comment in the traffic.
but that's part of engineering as far as I'm concerned, because he has to put a sign there.
Yeah, we were gonna have the traffic engineer go over that because it did come up in the letter from the interdepartments. I think it was from the traffic.
Traffic, yeah.
Yeah, so
That's-
we're happy to address it.
Even
to
if
him.
they didn't put it there, I would be talking about it, because that's definitely not a good thing.
Understood. Yeah, so we'll have Mr.
I know it limits the site for people getting out, but going across 4 lanes of traffic is not a good
Okay.
thing at all.
So I think when Mr. Verderisi testifies, we can go over that and make sure we address it.
Okay.
I was aware, and that's why I was very specific in my initial testimony as to what's out there today. And
Yeah, that's why I thought you said that, and I said there isn't one.
Yeah.
Okay.
sometimes I have to help the traffic engineer out, get to lead him a little bit. Next, I'd like to discuss the signage. The gas station's being rebranded from the Exxon to a Shell. The canopy itself remains the same. They'll put a new fascia on. The signage will remain the same or slightly lower. So we're saying 2 at 24 square feet. We're going to hold that. We have two freestanding signs. One's at the northwest corner, one is at the southwest corner. So talk about the one at the northwest corner. That's going to be repaneled. Like obviously, we're putting a shell panel up. I've worked for Shell for pretty much 30 years. They're very specific relative to their panels. This has to be a very customized panel because the freestanding sign, I believe, is the width is 7. They don't have that as like a standard prototype. So this sign is a height of 23.4 inches, which your ordinance has a max of 20, so that's an existing condition. Area of 112 square feet, and like the width of 7. All that will remain the same. All we're going to do is swap out panels. It'll be essentially the same sign with some different colors and different branding.
So will you talk about why you want to have excessive signs as part of your testimony?
I can.
Okay. Because I'm thinking, why can't signs be combined? You know, instead of just one shell sign, why can't it also incorporate Dunkin' Donuts, the market, and that kind of thing? So you can talk about it when you get to it.
Okay. So that sign essentially will remain identical to what you have out there today. The sign at the southwest corner, which is articulated so that you would see it as you're driving north-south, is slightly smaller, but with the shell pectin, which is the scallop, essentially, that is being increased, so it's a full square, and we're going from 66 square feet to 79.75 square feet. That meets the height because it's at 19 feet 3 inches. That's not changing on that end. The ordinance does allow for a maximum area of 50 square feet for a service station, 40 for a business, so it's 90. So the one from an area, straight up area standpoint, the one at the southwest would technically comply. We are at an intersection, multiple roadways. The one at the north is slightly over, but we're holding what was previously approved for this location. Before I get into, are you looking at the freestanding sign or the?
I'm listening to you on all the signs, because then I'm going to let our engineer comment on what you're doing, too.
Okay. On the building itself, what you have on existing is, it's one use. So you have the Tiger Mark sign on the north side, facing 35, and you also have one facing Laurel Avenue to the west. Those are both 19 square feet. For the proposed use, on the north side, again facing 35, they're looking to combine the two signs into one essential like panel, and that's going to be 38.06 square feet. There's also one on the east side. It's identical to the one on the north at 38.06 square feet. And then to the west, again, now we have two separate doors. So where it's one building, there's different entrances to each one. So there are two separate signs. The Dunkin's at 19.25 square feet. The convenience stores for 26.4 square feet for a total of 45.73 square feet. We also have a variance for the height, and I'll get into the building architecture.
Yeah, why don't we put up the building so that everyone can see the wall signs on the building?
Okay. You're welcome.
Kate, are you going to be able to talk about the signs, or Bill?
I can talk about the signs.
Okay.
I just, yeah, there's a few discrepancies in our letter 'cause it's based on
All
old
right,
plans,
so
but I can talk about it.
Jump
too.
in when he's finished talking about all the
Yeah,
signs
yeah,
and
sure,
talk about
sure.
that.
So-
Yeah.
So we should mark these, right?
I don't know if what was submitted was colored or not.
I don't, yeah, just mark it for the record,
Okay.
just to be, we're up to A3, I believe. A3 and A4, John.
I'm gonna. Uh-oh. Okay.
All right, so just describe those exhibits and which elevation's facing where so the board knows.
Okay, so this is the convenience store restaurant. This is the architectural plan that shows the west elevation, which would be the front of the building. As you can see, primarily
From the parking lot.
The parking lot, yes. Primarily glass around the doors on both of them, and then you have a column that is mounted. It sticks out for a little bit depth of character between the two uses. And then we also have a little bit of a canopy overhang. Because of the high glass ceiling, the signs have been placed further to the top The parapet's 21 feet, 11 inches, and we went with the so the HVAC units are tucked behind it. You can't see them from the street. If you drive down the site today, you'll see the HVAC units because their parapet's a little bit shorter. So now that'll be fully wrapped, so you won't be able to see it. You have the Duncan on the north side of the west elevation, and then the Welsh Farm would be on the south side of that elevation. So they would mark which door you would enter for the convenience store and which one for the Dunkin' Donuts. The south elevation is the one that's facing toward the jug handle. There's no signage on that. You have on the front quite a bit of glass, and then you have some ephes, and then some textured wood paneling, and then some brick fascia on the very top. And then going to Exhibit A4, we have the east elevation, and we also have the north elevation. So the east elevation is facing toward the jug handle for traffic that would be headed northbound on 35, and it's essentially we boxed off as one sign, and I believe I have that.
Why do we need that sign? That's the back, facing the grass area. Why do we need that one there?
To identify for traffic that is headed northbound on 35.
From the other side, they're gonna see that sign,
That's correct.
going at 40, 50 miles an hour. Okay, I'm listening, keep going.
And then we have the north elevation, which is facing toward 35, so that would capture both north and southbound on Route 35. Again, a little bit of a smaller sign. Boxed around it is a total of 38.06 square feet. And that's obviously the max area for a sign in the business district is 40 square feet. So we do have 4 frontages. So when you look at them, when I look at the signs, the Dunkin', the convenience store, there is a bit of a convenience or this is not a destination. So there's a little bit of an impulse buy sometimes. So I do think signage is important for these types of uses to be able to identify and be able to safely maneuver into the site. It's not a library. Like if you're going to the library, you kind of know where it is. So I think that there's a little bit of a traffic safety component to this. And when you look at A3, I think that on the fascia, I don't think that the signage itself is overstated.
Yeah, do you think it's proportional to the building?
I do.
Yeah. Okay. And John, before I'm sorry, did you want to stick to the
I was gonna
signs?
ask Kate if she wanted to jump in at any point here, talk about all these signs.
Sure. So I would just note that our review letter, we do refer to in some places as an Exxon versus Shell. That had to do with, that changed between iterations of the plans, and that was an oversight. But the overall sign scheme is pretty much exactly the same. Essentially the applicant is proposing to keep and please correct me if I get this wrong, proposing to keep the existing pylon signs at the height that they currently are. Excuse me. One sign is going to be slightly increased from 66 square feet to, wait, hold on, I'm looking at the old one. From 66 square feet to 79.75 square feet. That is a variance for that. And then the other sign is going to stay the same area, which is 112 square feet. Because this is a gas station, they are allowed additional signage, which is because of, typically because of the state statute that requires them to display their prices. So here they're essentially keeping the same freestanding signs. And then the signage for the actual building mounted signs is a little, it looks, in my opinion, it looks worse on paper than it is. There are 2 uses here. They technically have 2 separate entrances. So in terms of the number of signs, the ordinance allows for 2 signs per business, whether you want to look at this as 2 businesses, 1 business. I mean, I think a variance is needed for the number of signs that are here, but 2 signs per business, 1 per wall. So even though this has 4 frontages, they're not allowed to have additional signs for the other frontages.
They are allowed to have.
They are not.
They're not. Okay.
Not for all 4, I don't believe.
So they're allowed to put on one side 2 different businesses. Is that correct?
Yes, that
But-
they are allowed to do. And they are allowed to have it on another side as well.
So 2 sides?
2 sides.
Out of the 4?
Yes.
And they have 3 sides out of the 4, right?
Yes.
You are correct.
Okay. So, and you feel that the one facing north is going to allow somebody that's coming
mean-
down, heading
South. The one facing south.
south?
No, it's the one, you're talking, I know which one you're talking
I'm
about.
looking for the one you said earlier. Was the
I'm not,
north-
I don't even think this is worth going back and forth on, because normally I would, on behalf of the client, push back and say we need that sign, but you're right. We don't need the sign on the east side.
Okay.
That's
my point.
it's not even worth,
Okay.
It's not
you
even
said
worth
it.
discussing.
So that's
Because-
being eliminated.
Okay, there you go. Yes, I think
Thank
that's
you.
a fair
Yeah.
assessment. Mhm.
Let's be realistic.
I agree. I
Especially
don't
with the
disagree.
trees.
I'm saving
Yeah.
him money, actually, so
Yeah.
he should thank me.
On
Well,
signs.
well, and also with the fact that we're saving those trees per the environmental commission's
they
letter,
would block that
no one's gonna see it
That's
anyway.
exactly
That's
what I was about-
correct, you
yes.
got it. Now we're talking.
That's exactly what I was about to say, is that I think eliminates the need for that. But otherwise, I think that the sign plan is typical for this type of use on a highway corridor, so.
So, I mean, I'm just asking, I'm not sure exactly about the signs, but if you're driving east on 35, the sign, so somebody coming before they hit Laurel Avenue, they're looking at your site, they're gonna see the Shell sign freestanding.
Correct.
So when will they know there's a Dunkin' Donut? Not until they're in front of the building?
No, there's a panel, so there's.
Oh, there's gonna be Shell on top and a panel with Dunkin' Donuts?
Yeah, it's all part of, and the pricing is all.
Yeah, they're just repaneling it the way that,
I don't know how, is it on here, the picture, what it looks like?
it was on one of the, it was on one of the sheets and there was a
missed
detail.
It's in the site plan.
Yeah, it's in the main
Oh,
set.
the main plan, okay.
Yeah,
sorry.
I can find the sheet for you, Mr. Chairman. if you want it.
That's what's important. Somebody coming, down 35, heading east, knows before they get there what they're looking for.
100%.
And that's why
Yeah,
I'm asking this question.
it's on sheet, 12 of the packet.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I didn't see it.
That's okay.
All right, Kate, is that it on the signing?
That's it for now. Their planner should also put on some brief
Sure.
testimony
All right.
because
Of
there's
course.
variances required.
Are you okay with them eliminating one sign?
I am. I'm
Thank you.
absolutely okay with that.
All right, continue.
I think that's all I had for Mr. Palis.
Okay, so we can open up to board questions on anything that he testified?
Oh, I can ask him John, I know I said it in my opening, but any technical comments from the Collier's letter dated
That's what I was gonna ask.
February 5th, 2025, we will comply as a condition of approval? Should
Yes.
the board approve?
Yes.
Okay.
So all engineering questions that you have, Bill, are gonna be complied by. Do you have any other comments that you would like to bring up? He went over a lot of things.
I think on the record, I'd like to know something about monitoring wells around the site, and any history of the site.
The monitoring well, he said.
I'm sorry, I can't hear you.
There's several monitoring wells on site.
Okay,
Just like to know if there's an LSRP of record, who it is, and what the condition of the site is now.
okay.
There is, I believe we submitted that information to the board. And as such, I didn't dig in on that.
But the answer is yes, there is an LSRP, and obviously we have to comply with all state regulations. And if you don't have that documentation, we're happy to provide it to you.
I just want to know if there's a problem with contamination at this time.
Yeah, and any monitoring wells, obviously, that were disturbed during construction would be relocated, of course, with DEP.
And Mr. Palis, it was your testimony that you are not a major project with regard to stormwater management?
That's correct.
Which would negates you having to provide stormwater management on your site, correct?
I'm sorry?
The fact that you're not a major project
Yes,
negates any type of stormwater management requirements or water quality requirements.
that is correct.
Answer.
Huh, I was
Yeah.
gonna say something
Yeah, I
about
was
that.
gonna say, well, I thought-
Basically,
I thought you would
the
be concerned about
triggers are
drainage,
1
so-
acre of disturbance and an additional quarter acre of impervious road surface.
Yeah, I'm just, in this day and age, I was always worried about, flooding issues and
And that
I
creek
would
is
think
right
with the
there.
improvements on the site, all the landscaping you're doing, you'd wanna make sure that there was some additional stormwater management just to kind of base in, any runoff for the parking lot. I know pre-existing is probably not there, but since you're renovating the site, I would have liked to hear something additional being added for, stormwater recapture.
I
And that
mean,
back area there, there's a lot of land there that I was hoping something would be added there.
We can look at possibly trying to put something up at that northwest corner, try to at least,
Yeah, because we have an issue that floods up on Middle Road, and there's a stream that goes in that vicinity, correct? And I don't know where the water from 35 empties to or anything like that, without getting into that. But, you know, he said that it all goes into that, right? You know what I'm talking about. And here's an opportunity to cut a little bit of it
Yeah,
out.
just a little bit helping the area.
certainly. And this is, the site's under 2 acres, it's a very small site, but I can grade and get some of the northwest corner and get some of the drainage into there.
Great.
And just infiltrate.
Yeah, in addition to reducing the impervious.
And the motor vehicle service area, which is a water quality component.
So Marty, would you make that a condition?
If you're gonna vote tonight, we make it a
Part of the,
condition.
yeah, part of the,
Correct.
well,
And
is that
typically-
okay with you? Making it
Yes,
part
of-
of condition
of
that we
course,
would have
of
additional
course.
stormwater, that northwest corner?
Yeah, we'll work with Colliers to make, yeah,
Typically, you make it subject to our professionals.
yeah, that's fine.
Another item that you mentioned, which I liked, is that you said you don't want to touch any of the rear tree vegetation. So it's not on the plans, obviously, so do we want to make that a condition?
Yeah, I would assume you would, because John testified that that was in response to your environmental commission's report.
Right.
So he said, I think, John, you indicated that 33 trees would be saved.
I'm in favor of that 100%.
Okay, okay,
I second that.
So if we can incorporate what
Sure.
what Jason said in the back there somehow, however, it would be
Well,
great.
yeah,
to-
in the back and I guess the northwest corner you were saying.
No, the northwest corner is additional vegetation, but there's no trees there.
No, I'm sorry, for the stormwater.
yeah,
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 basin,
I'm
basically.
writing down, I'm sure
Gotcha,
Mr. Flager's also doing it, but yes, that's the stormwater condition that you mentioned.
Yes.
The back is the environmental
Gotcha, okay.
condition that we
Great,
mentioned,
great.
yeah.
Okay. Any other board members have any questions?
You mentioned there's no drive-through schedule. Is
That-
that something we can put in, that you're not going to add a drive-through the minute this gets granted or doesn't get?
Well, we'd have to come back,
we would have to
we
come
would
back.
have to come back.
Lori, they would absolutely have to come
Yeah.
back for this board for another D1 variance.
Yeah.
They could not do anything that's not on the site plan, let alone something as big as a drive-through.
Yeah.
I have a question that may not be your,
Sure.
and so tell me who would answer this. I presume, because I've seen these before, it's not the first Dunkin' Donut, that the Dunkin' Donuts are not cooked on the property. They're
Correct.
brought in from some other location.
Yeah, are we allowed to say Dunkin' Donuts anymore, or is it Dunkin'?
It's done.
Is it- all right. I still say Dunkin' Donuts too. No, there's no like the time to make the donuts guy, like from the
Right.
commercial. Yeah, that doesn't, that, they don't have
Coming
that.
from
Yeah,
someplace else.
everything comes packaged, and all it is warmed up on the site, that's it.
Is somebody gonna talk about the operation of the inside? Is that something?
I mean, John already, really talked about it, there's
Well, I
nothing.
mean, I looked at the floor plan, I was trying to understand what it is.
Oh, we have we could talk, we can, John can answer any question, he's done
Okay,
hundreds
so
of these for this
Can you
client.
just take a few minutes and talk about the floor plan and how the traffic, how people are gonna come in, where they're gonna walk around to and all that kind of thing?
Absolutely. So,
Where's the entrance?
1 second.
Start with
I think
that.
this was part of the set though, John.
This was a part of the set. okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's in there.
So, this is the floor plan for the Dunkin', and it says the Welsh Farms has the areas. So on the left side of the page is the Dunkin', so that, like, when you're looking at the site, that's gonna be what I said would be the north side of the site. The Welsh Farms on the right side. So if you walk into, the Dunkin', you have an immediate area with, 8 seats. Again, we have a little bit of an open area, so they put the seats in just in case really someone's waiting for something. I don't expect this to be a destination where people are hanging out. The counter is directly in front of you, and directly to the right, you'll have a ADA restroom for the public. There is a door between the two uses that you could filter between the two rather than have to funnel back outside, especially if it's raining. What you'll see here, we don't have a cooler. So the cooler, because of the combined uses, you're gonna go to, if you want like a Pepsi, not a fountain drink, but if you want like a bottle of water, you would go to the convenience store. But essentially, you have your whole drink systems here located in the middle of the store. So
So,
all the
is that
coffees.
self-service?
No.
So the counter is right here in the front?
The counter's here right in the front,
Okay,
and then behind that is all of the drinks in
Right,
there, all
that they
the
make, okay.
multiple drinks now.
John, everywhere that says, where it says Dunkin' Donuts POS, point of sale, that's all, that from there on, that's all employee area.
Yeah, that's employee
Yeah.
area.
So only
Employee
the,
area,
only the
okay.
front portion of it, where it says sales area, and up to where, like, that counter, where really the activity begins, the drink
Correct.
making begins, that's all.
So it's a
Right.
very small sales area for
Yeah.
customers.
So what's all that space back there for?
So you have a 3-compartment sink for sanitary purposes. You have an office for the manager to have access. And then you have like a freezer cooler for the goods. And then dry goods are essentially stored back there as well as your fountain drinks, which I think is located on the west side.
All right, and then just walk through the Welsh Farms.
Again, typical convenience store, a small one. You're gonna have gondolas. Like this is designed with 4 gondolas after you walk in to hit you right in the front. Your point of sale system is to the right, so there's a counter there. They have the roller, whatever goods they have on the roller, and then the soda, the beverage rack. The cooler is straight back, so when you walk in, you see it straight back, and that covers essentially the sales area. Behind that, you have the storage. There's again a small office for a manager, the back area where they have all the dry goods, and another 3-compartment sink.
Now, those doors say delivery back there, but they're not gonna be delivery.
That's correct. My testimony is that because these are so much smaller, that it'll be right through the front door.
Yeah, we could, Mr. Chairman, if you want, we could amend that on a final set as a condition if you'd like.
So then, if they're not delivery, they're just emergency exits?
Right, secondary means of
Is that
egress.
compliant with something, that you need to have emergency exits back there? Because that's the only employees back there that are going out that way, right?
Correct. Building department's gonna, code's
Yes.
gonna require.
Yeah, okay.
And does the Dunkin' have any kitchen at all? You're saying heating something.
No, it just has like, when you walk into a Dunkin' now and they just like put the, I always get the, like the omelet bites or whatever. They just, or the wraps, they just put them in the oven, they warm up for like 2 minutes and then they pull them out.
So they're not cooking
No.
eggs, bacon, anything
No,
like
zero.
that, like another store?
There's no frying, there's no baking, there's no.
It's all pre-made?
All
stuff in the
pre-made, it's just
refrigerator and they
heated
put
up.
it there.
Yeah, but there is
Correct.
like a toaster, stuff like
Yeah,
that.
it's
but
all- yes.
Lori, I think it's if you're looking at the plans where the Dunkin' is, it's like that setup to the left of that. I think that's the heating
That's the heating.
stuff,
Okay.
based on my own personal Dunkin'
The back area-
experiences.
The back area looks so large and empty then.
Yeah.
That's gonna be the fridge and dry
Yeah.
goods.
Yeah.
The coolers are in the back.
Okay, does that help everybody? Better understand the flow?
Yeah.
Okay. Any other questions from the board?
I have one other question.
Go ahead, Angela.
So back to the proposed plan on the outside. So it looks like so I see where the air, the vacuum and the air tanks are. Are those, have those been moved, or are those where they currently are now?
They're gonna be put back. They would be at the southwest corner, as far away from the residential as could. They'd be well within, beyond 200 feet of the residential.
Okay, because right now it looks like that they're where that last parking spot is, and my only concern is that if they move more, like if they were to move more north, I don't know if it would affect any sort of traffic that comes in from the Laurel Avenue side, if there's a car there that's using them.
No, we actually put it for the last parking space, which is gonna be, I would expect to be clearly the least used parking space, so I don't expect that to be used except for someone who's using that.
And John, when you say it's where it is now, it's right along a drive aisle, right?
Correct.
So this is really a better location because
yes.
you have to be in a parking spot to use it, whereas currently you would just kind of be along the aisle.
Parking along the curb, yes.
Right.
Is there anything that's gonna be in between the front doors, like that you sell, like an ice chest for bags of ice, or
No.
anything else?
We
There's
would
gonna
commit
be
to-
nothing there, nothing is sold in front?
We would
No
commit to-
piles of windshield wiper or something like that?
No.
Windshield fluid?
I know that some of that's out there now. We would
So
agree
there
to.
would not, you would not be selling anything outside of the building?
No,
The only thing, John, on the outside is the propane, the propane.
which
Oh,
I
yeah,
think
the propane. We didn't even
I
talk
mentioned
about
before.
that.
There's propane, it's currently it's at the south side of the site, southeast corner of the site, and it's a cage essentially, it's a swap out. So
Is
it's not
that
a-
the Rhino brand type stuff?
There's no
Blue
filling,
Rhino, yeah.
it's just a
Blue
swap.
Rhino? So that's a swap tank?
Yeah.
And that's secure with pilasters?
Right, you have
and
to go
everything?
into the store, they have the key, you would have to ask them.
So they
get-
put balusters in front of it to protect it from a car hitting it?
Are there
all that kind of
bollards
stuff?
proposed, John?
There's a cage,
Uh,
which I
but-
think.
Yeah, but I mean a
structurally-
baluster so a car doesn't, because isn't that by the loading zone?
It is.
Yeah, so shouldn't there be balusters there?
I think the cage actually is designed to withstand that.
A car backing up into it?
I'll double check. If we have to put a bollard in, I'll put one in.
Okay, that's what I'm talking about. Okay. Okay, any other things from any other questions from the board? All right, I guess I'll open it up to the public. Anybody out there in the public have questions of the engineer? I see none. Okay,
Our next witness is our traffic engineer, Nicholas Verderisi.
okay, thank you.
You want to sit, guy? Yeah, so you can take this, so just take this one.
Please state all your credentials, you know what to say, and spell your
Yes.
name for us.
Nicholas Verderisi, Verderese. I'm a licensed professional engineer in the state of New Jersey, principal founder of Dynamic Traffic, located at 1904 Main Street, Lake Como. I've appeared before this board and the planning board. I've been doing this 35 years. I don't think I've been, though, in probably 6 or 7. I recognize the chairman, but so it's been a little while, but not
I've
too
been here
long
since
ago.
'97, so you
Yeah, I've
probably.
probably been here half a dozen times since then. Yes.
Would you accept Mr. Verderisi?
Yeah, I guess we'll keep him.
Thank you.
So Nick, do you want to go through your traffic report and address access to the site, parking, as well as on-site circulation?
Yes, just as you heard, all of our driveways are remaining as is. So what we did do prior, we probably got it before we even made the original submission here. We received a letter of no interest from the Department of Transportation, essentially saying we don't have a significant increase in traffic, we're not changing the driveways. And we also got approval from Monmouth County, since South Laurel is a Monmouth County roadway. So that's all been buttoned up. And, lastly, we have this board to come to get our approvals. So yes, we did a traffic impact study. We took traffic counts, morning peak hour, evening peak hour, midday on Saturday. So we identified existing conditions at the site as well as at the signalized intersection at 35 and South Laurel. We identified peak hours. The traffic that comes to this site is similar to what we would normally see. It's a little higher in the AM, it's a little lower in the PM. Every day it's probably a little bit different, but it generally operates similar to, a normal convenience and gas site. Then what we did was adding the Dunkin' on. We utilized DOT trip generation. They have a specific land use that has restaurant, convenience, and gas. That actually has a restaurant with drive-through. We use the number just because there isn't another one without, so we're probably a little conservative in what we used because we don't have the drive-through component on this site. And we showed that all the driveways continue to operate at good levels of service. Minor changes to the operation at the traffic signalized intersection. I'm sure you're all familiar with this type of use. Gas, convenience, coffee, 2/3, maybe even more of the traffic is traffic that's already passing by the site. So you're on 35, you want to get coffee, you want to get gas, this is your location you go to, you pass by it on the way to work, on the way home from work, to school, wherever you're going. That's typically how this operates. So when you add the Dunkin' to the site, it's not all new traffic. Only about 1/3 of it is what we consider new to the area. So what that does is it doesn't have a significant impact to the adjacent roadways because there's not a lot of new traffic. It's just people turning in and turning out that used to pass by. It likely takes some people from other Dunkins. So there's one on the northbound side of 35 that people may use jug handles, et cetera, to get to. Now this will kind of pick up the southbound side of 35 and the northbound side of South Laurel Avenue. I that's kind of weird to say because they're perpendicular to each other, but I think you understand my point. Yeah, so, I mean, not much has changed on the site. There is one change that I think that does a nice job. It does two things. One, it ends up adding some impervious or some pervious area up at the northwest corner, but it also, right now, and I'm kind of pointing to, I think it's A2, this is kind of cut off here, and this is all pavement in here on the east side. So it's kind of wide open, so when you kind of come in from both driveways or you're exiting, those people are conflicting with each other there, so we were able to kind of channelize that more onto the property. So that had kind of a dual benefit of the additional pervious area and channelizing the traffic. So that worked out well. The loading, so we've improved the loading. Currently, there's really no formal loading. I think they just kind of park along the curb. Right now, there's a curb on this south side. They likely just park there. Now we've added this nice 20 by 35 foot area that a nice box truck can sit there if it has to sit for 10 minutes to offload. Duncan gets the van early in the morning. That comes before most of the activity on the site, so they just park in the parking space and load through the front door. The rest of the site essentially operates as it does today. The only change is, these parking spaces on the south side, which work well. There's a 25-foot aisle behind there, so I don't have any concern with the circulation there. Lastly, there was some discussion on this driveway on South Laurel. Right now, there's no sign if you're exiting to turn left out of the driveway. Ironically, our whole traffic study assumed no one was going to make a left out of there in the future condition, which is kind of funny. But hardly anyone does it now, and the reason being is because there's so much traffic typically blocking the driveway that people don't make the left turn out. It kind of self-controls itself. It's nice during off-peak times. If you're there at 8 o'clock at night or the middle of the day when maybe traffic isn't as heavy, that you can make the left because it's not very convenient for people to have to make the jug handle. I did it today just to see what it was like. I came onto the property. I went around the jug handle around the site, got over, did the jug handle on the opposite corner, and then came back south. It was kind of circuitous, and it took a little bit of time, but I made that maneuver just to see what it would be like.
So are you saying that you don't think it's necessary to have a stop left turn?
I mean,
no left turn there?
Outside of the peak hours, I don't know that I would have a big concern with making it.
I'm sorry, I
But
disagree with
we're open to what the board is
I
considering.
disagree with you. I've driven the ambulance on first aid calls, and somebody was blocking the 2 lanes there trying to make a left turn when I went there. And I've seen many people trying to make left turns and juggle their way across 4 lanes of traffic. So
If they're just trying to get, turn, yeah, you're right.
you have to go across 4
Stop
lanes of
before
traffic,
the 4
not
lane.
counting the other lanes
But
coming
if you
down
wanna
Laurel.
go left onto 35, you still have to go through past 2 straight lanes. That becomes a disaster for that jug handle, and this entrance, that's what I'm concerned about. They're gonna be fighting
Yeah.
traffic from the jug handle.
I think you have to put that's my strong recommendation. There can't be left turns out of that driveway anymore. Even the traffic officer wrote that on his
Yeah,
letter.
like I said, we did our traffic study and didn't assign anyone to that left because I don't think too many people try it. I guess
sorry.
some do, but if we have to
It only takes
eliminate
one
the
accident.
left,
And we've had
then we would consider that
So
for
we
sure.
would, what you're asking is we put up a sign there that indicates that basically you can't make, because you can't make a left in now. There's a sign saying no left in, correct?
Correct.
So you'd
There's
want
actually
one-
2 signs that
No
say that.
left going, I guess, south
Yeah,
onto
yeah.
Laurel.
Yeah.
Yeah, they said the placed signage prohibiting left-hand turns from both inside the complex to Laurel Avenue and from Laurel Avenue into the complex.
So
Yeah, so it would require us to add a sign on our site, essentially a stop sign and a no left turn sign.
Have you did any research as to traffic and accident statistics at that intersection?
I
Because
did.
for a while, it was talked about in town about how it was a dangerous intersection.
I did. Interestingly, I would say 2/3 of the traffic accidents for some reason, are on southbound 35 as you approach the intersection. And the vast majority of those are rear ends. Interestingly, also, there are 3 or 4 in the last few years right angle crashes in the intersection. So people like blowing the red signal and going through the traffic signal. That was 3 of the crashes. We got all of the crash data. None of the crashes were related to our driveway because we gave all that information to the police and we didn't get anything back. We only got crashes at the intersection. There were some rear end crashes on the northbound side of Laurel as well.
So usually the boards don't go opposite of what their police department has to recommend. And I think the chairman has indicated that you really want that left turn restriction.
Well, we were advised, it says.
I know.
Due to the anticipated increase of traffic in and out, vehicles should also be prohibited from making a left-hand turn out of the complex and traversing 4 lanes of traffic in order to enter Laurel Avenue westbound. When traffic queues up at the Highway 35 signal, this makes it difficult to see approaching westbound traffic on Laurel Avenue, which increases the risk of motor vehicle crashes. So this is from the traffic
No,
safety.
that's what I was saying. So based on that and what the board has been saying, we would agree to put that no left turn exiting the site.
Thank you. That is an improvement for that area.
Okay.
And just for the record, you already have a no left coming in.
That's correct. So there'd be no left in, no left
We're
out.
adding that. We're just adding the no left exiting.
Correct, that's right.
Correct.
That's right. Okay.
But you guys got this letter that has all of the recommendations, right?
Right.
Yes.
Because I didn't even talk about the fire official.
Yeah, we would comply with all of these.
Okay, you will comply.
Yeah, the one thing that we wanted to talk about honestly was that left out based on the data that Mr. Verderisi had. But since it seems the board feels it's very important, we'll agree to it.
I'm sorry, I have personal experiences.
That's fine. So
and that's
like,
fine.
like I said, we'll agree to do it.
Okay, thank you. You're putting that down there, is that a condition? Yes. Okay. All right, I'm sorry, keep going.
No,
No,
I
that-
didn't have any more
that's
direct.
it.
Okay, any other questions on traffic, guys?
I have a comment, and this might sound, but where you changed the upper left corner there, you said you put the berm, you took away the cement to channel the traffic. Does that affect, though, the site so that somebody coming there can't see as easily that there's a car coming into the driveway, that you might have a problem there? Do you know what I'm saying? Like, in other words, when it was all pavement, the site was very clear who was coming in that driveway if I'm channeling this way. By putting shrubbery and stuff, are we reducing the site? That something might happen there with people?
We'll ensure that all the shrubs in this are low-level
Okay.
plantings.
All right.
So I presume that's site triangle.
Yes.
Right.
Okay, any other comments from our board? No questions? You guys are easy tonight. Okay, any questions from the public? I see there are none.
Okay. Our last witness is our professional planner.
I didn't even ask Bill if he had any questions. Thank you.
Hi, Justin Auciello. That's AUCIELLO, licensed professional planner in the state of New Jersey.
All right, why don't you just go through some of your other credentials and what boards you've testified before in the state of New Jersey?
Sure, absolutely. So I've been licensed here in the state of New Jersey since 2008. I have a master's degree in city regional planning from Rutgers University. I've appeared in front of this board and your planning board on multiple occasions. Mr. Chair, I do recognize you. I think the last time I was here was during a Zoom hearing. So this is going back some time. I provided testimony at planning zoning boards. I've been qualified in over 200 municipalities. I've appeared all through Monmouth County, through Ocean, and 20 counties in the state. I'm still waiting for Cape May County, so hopefully soon.
Based on recognizing me, okay. Yeah.
Thank you, sir.
All right, thank you. All right, Justin, before you get into the substance of your testimony, just you visited the site in the surrounding area.
Yes, I did.
You've reviewed all the application materials, plans, reports, and heard all the testimony.
Yes, certainly. I have.
And you've also analyzed the relevant sections of the township's master plan and zoning ordinance.
I have.
All right, so why don't you just give an overview, maybe from a zoning perspective, and then we can get into the D1 variance relief that's required.
Sure. So I did review the letter from Ms. Keller dated March 10th, 2025. As the board is aware, you did hear extensive testimony
from the other professionals. We are seeking a D1 variance, and just to be conservative, I understand that Ms. Keller did state that the D3 is not required due to that quirk in the ordinance, but just for the sake of the record, I will put that testimony on. I promise I'll be very brief, with that as well. This property is located in the B2 Neighborhood Business District, as well as the Route 35 Highway overlay. What is permitted, of course, all of the uses that are proposed on the site are permitted, but due to the requirement in the zoning ordinance for multiple principal uses are only permitted if all of the yard requirements are met. Because we are not meeting all the yard requirements, we do require that D1 variance for multiple principal uses. It's a bit unique, but I think what's important about that is that none of the uses that are proposed are actually not permitted in the zone or prohibited in the zone. So I think it's just important just to restate that. I know our site engineer had stated that earlier, but in terms of the context of the planning analysis, I just thought that was important. The purposes of the planning justifications, as the board is well aware, for D1 variance, there are certain proofs that must be put on the record under the Medici standard. The first is particular suitability, and that is what makes this site particularly suited for the proposed uses, the proposed uses, the gas station, the Dunkin' Donuts, and the convenience store. I think number one, this site is already developed with the gas station and a convenience store. What's changing here from a planning standpoint are substantial improvements. Number one, I would say that these uses are all synergistic. As you heard from the site engineer, when people pull up to get gas, it is typical. Not all will, but some will go in to get a coffee, to get some egg bites, maybe to run in to get a bottle of water from the convenience store. There's natural synergy here with the uses that are proposed. The other aspects from a site design standpoint, and I'm not a PE here, I'm not an engineer, but I'm speaking in terms of land use and planning. I think what's really important here, from the ability of the site to carry this use and whether or not this site is particular relative to the expansion of the building, is that this application complies with the floor area ratio. In fact, there is a slight increase from 0.003 to 0.06, but that's well under what's permitted at 0.2. There is actually a slight reduction of the lot coverage. It's both listed at the table in Kate's letter at 51.1%, but the reduction is small. There's a reduction from 26,527 square feet to 26,509 square feet. So even though it is slight, there is a reduction. And that's coming from the pervious pavement that is proposed in a portion of the site. The building coverage is well under the requirement. There is an increase, of course, because of the expansion of the existing building from 7.27 to 10.94, but most importantly here, in terms of what makes this site suitable for this use, the maximum building coverage is 20%. So we are, well below, that requirement. I think in terms of site suitability as well, even though, we are making changes on this site, there's more than sufficient room. And I think the elimination of some of the existing aspects of the site, the ice machine that's outside, and the overall cleanup, there is still more than enough room to accommodate all proposed changes, as you just heard, relative to the coverages and the FAR, et cetera. In terms of the purposes of zoning, or the special reasons that I see advanced in connection with this application, I would say purpose G of the MLUL, which speaks to the provision of sufficient space and appropriate locations for a variety of uses. Again, There are 3 uses that are proposed on the site. Again, they're all permitted, and they're all, synergistic, and the previous testimony has established, I think pretty clearly that there is sufficient space on the site to accommodate. Purpose I, to promote a desirable visual environment. Certainly, as you saw from our site engineer, I think the architecture is very attractive. It's going to be a nice cleanup on this highly visible property, of course, that has frontage on 4 roadways as well. It is an island in itself, and I think the aesthetics here are really going to go a long way. That's consistent with your master plan, which I'll get into a bit later. Purpose H, which speaks to the provision of free flow of traffic, as you heard from our traffic engineer, traffic's not going to be a concern here. He does feel that this site is safe for circulation onto the site and throughout the site. So certainly the provision of free flow of traffic, and purpose M to the more efficient use of land. Again, this goes to the synergy of this site, having these 3 uses on site, which are all complementary. And again, as you heard from our traffic and site engineer, these are not destination uses. These are the types of pass-by uses where, from a planning standpoint, we would seek to encourage all these uses for kind of one-stop shopping. So I think those are the purposes of zoning that are advanced in connection with this application. In terms of the negative criteria for the D1 use variance, the first is a showing of whether or not there's going to be a substantial detriment to the public good. And I understand that, as you heard the testimony from our site engineer, the vegetation that's along the eastern portion of the site, along the jug handle, will remain. And why is that important? That's important because that is going towards the residential dwelling, which is to the south of the site, which I believe our site engineer testified is more than 200 feet away. But it is still important to retain that vegetation. Well,
just to add to you, I'm sorry. One of the other reasons for keeping those 33 trees is the flooding, the potential flooding issue for that jug handle and causing traffic concerns.
Correct.
If you remove 33 mature existing trees, that could create big problems with flooding on that jug handle.
That's a great point, and thanks for that, because that actually helps the testimony of the negative criteria by having those trees.
But I still think adding a stormwater basin in that grass area, because you're adding the additional 1,400 square feet, should be part of this. That's my.
Yeah, I had indicated that we would do that
So
to
there'll
the board.
be 2 stormwater basins. They agreed to that. Okay, the 2, northwest and southeast.
They agreed to work with our engineer
Okay.
to minimize, although not required under the stormwater reg, but to work with our engineer to minimize stormwater.
Yeah, because Jason, they're not actually adding any coverage on the property, even
Right.
though they're increasing the building. They're taking it away in other places.
Yeah, but we have problems with flooding. In that
Oh,
area.
I'm well aware.
Yeah,
I'm
so
well
I'm
aware.
asking-
But yes,
yeah.
and that's why they've agreed to go over and above.
Yeah, I don't know if we can do it in the south. I'd have to ask John to come back up because
The southeast, the grassy area, where they'll have the tree coverage there still, but I still think
Right
for,
behind the building.
yeah, right behind the building, yeah, exactly. yeah.
I think we leave it that they'll look at both areas and work to Bill's satisfaction. If they can't do it, though, Bill will have to sign off if they can't do it.
Okay.
The concern I have is you got mature trees there, the root systems are huge.
Well, yeah, I don't want to
So-
affect the trees, yeah.
So basically, you may.
What Dimitri had suggested is right behind, like, right around the building, where the building is, where there won't be
yeah,
that many trees, right?
I think we understand the spirit of your comment, which
Okay.
is if we can add some stormwater mitigation in certain places, we'll try to do it without affecting some of the grading and the mature trees that are out
Yeah, I
there.
don't want you to kill all the trees.
Yeah, definitely
No,
not.
okay, understood. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Bill.
So I think I was talking about the retention of the trees in that portion of the property that we were just discussing. I think that is a benefit that helps to mitigate any visual impact. Certainly, and given the fact that that house to the south is more than 200 feet away, I think that does help. I think as you heard from our site engineer as well, which is very interesting and helpful, the way that this property is set up as it is that all the activity is really facing towards Route 35. So what's going to be facing the jug handle into the south where that house is, there's really nothing going on there. There's no activity. All the action is, further up front. And I think also, this really connects the positive and negative criteria, but in terms of, detriments, there are all of these, mitigating factors as well that do help to minimize any detriments, which I don't really see any, but if there are, they're not substantial. That's the new landscaping, that's the aesthetics, that's the new lighting, and all the things the other professionals have discussed. So that, and actually there's one more prong. Of course, I've done this testimony many times, but I just corrected myself. The second prong of the negative criteria is whether or not there will be an impairment of the purpose of the master plan, the zoning ordinance, and the zone plan, and also the reconciliation of the omission of the use or the enhanced quality of proof. I would say that to reconcile, this is really kind of unique again, because the ordinance already contemplates these uses. These uses are not prohibited uses. They're all permitted in the zone, but the reason why the use variance is required is because we don't meet all the bulk requirements. So I would say it's already contemplated. So there's really nothing, to reconcile here, but it is a requirement of the D1 proof. So I just wanted to put that on the record. In terms of the intent of the zoning ordinance, and here these are permitted uses. These are the type of uses that the Route 35 corridor zone contemplates. So I don't see any impairment to that. I think importantly, in terms of your master plan, there are some purposes of the 2020 master plan reexamination that I think are really important here. And I think from a planning standpoint, especially when there's a use variance, it's always important and also required to you provide consistency with the planning doctrine. I would say this advances the purpose to encourage high quality design, to seek stable, high quality ratables, to facilitate a positive a business climate in the township, to facilitate the upgrade of existing non-residential properties, and to enhance the overall appearance of the township's commercial corridors. I think this application, as you heard from all the testimony, certainly advances all of those elements from the master plan reexamination. So that is the D1 proofs. As I had stated earlier, there is the D3 variance for the conditional use, and I promised I'd be brief, and I will be brief. The reason why we need a requirement, and as Kate had said previously, she doesn't think we need it, but I'm just going to say it anyway, just for the purpose of the record. The ordinance, as currently stands, controls a service station or a gas station as a conditional use, and because there are some conditions that are not met, that variance is required. The standard for that is whether or not the site can accommodate the deviation. Since there's nothing changing with the service station, I would say certainly it can accommodate it, and that's the simple way of addressing that. Lastly, there are some bulk variances that are required. Typically these variances are subsumed in the D1 use variance request, but just again for the sake of the record, and I promise I'll be brief here, there are some that I would just like to mention. In terms of the various variances for the signs, you did hear extensive testimony about the purpose of the signs. This sign plan is pretty typical for a highway corridor. There are multiple frontages, multiple roadways, 4 frontages. They're really necessary, as you heard from the other professionals, to facilitate safety of the cars that are on the various roadways. And again, given that this is not a destination use, typically this is more of a pass-by. The signs help to serve as a beacon for people wanting to make a quick decision to come onto this property. And also, importantly, from a planning standpoint, they're proportional to the building, as you heard our site engineer state. So I think the sign package is appropriate. I think the sign package is critical to ensuring safety.
And since there's no real residential uses nearby, you don't see any negative impact, substantial detriment to the public good as a result of
No.
the signs?
No substantial detriment to public good with the signs. And the variance for the setback from the residential zone, this is rather interesting as well, because the zone line runs along the center line, generally of the jug handle. Even though we do, need relief for that, given the fact that that nearest residential dwelling is well more than 200 feet away, and all of the other aspects I'd state, especially with the vegetation, and that activity really facing the front, I certainly think there's no negative impact to granting that variance as well. There was also small variance for the front yard setback, the building. It's approximately a delta of 3 feet. I would say that that's de minimis in nature, but again, for all of the benefits that are flowing from what's proposed this evening, certainly I don't see any negative impacts or substantial detriment with that as well. And I believe that concludes.
Yeah, I would say, so with respect to the C variances, you would agree that the purposes of the MLUL that you indicated for the D1 variances are advanced as well for the C variances?
Yes, absolutely, and certainly the benefits, the balancing test of flexible C would be advanced with this application. I think the benefits certainly do outweigh any detriments as well.
Okay, all right, thank you. All right, that's all I have for Mr. Osceola.
Kate, comments?
Thanks, Justin. I agree, I think that what Mr. Osceola presented was, appropriate for what the variances that we're seeking here, which are not, the typical D1, but it's unique, and I think, for the board's review, you want to look at what's proposed on the site, and I think it's a very important point that these uses are permitted in some way, shape, or form otherwise in the zone. So it's not like this is nothing that's proposed on this site is not contemplated for this zone. One thing that I didn't mention, and I don't think it came up in testimony, but the applicant is technically requiring a new C variance for the front yard setback. I believe it's going from like 50.3 to 48 or something.
Yeah, that's what Justin was
No,
saying.
I know, but
that-
so I just wanted to say, to clarify to Justin's point even more, is that nothing's changing with the footprint. That's actually, I believe that's only a reflection of the new, architectural canopies that are going in. So in my opinion, that's not going to have a substantial visual impact, and would probably actually have the opposite, because it's really an upgrade to the site.
That's a good point.
So, I think the big picture here is that this is a very visible intersection in the township. This has been a gas station, service station for as long as I can remember, sure even longer. And I think that, what they're proposing here is, it's technically adding another use, but these are the kind of uses that are kind of always changing and in flux, where what was typically, it used to be a gas station with service bays and auto repair on the site, and now it's more typically going to be a convenience store. So, just for the board's consideration, I think the idea that these uses are all, kind of symbiotic in nature, they do have a relationship there, and and also the applicant, and I'll let Jason do his closing, but the applicant has made a few changes to the application in response to the board. So, when you're looking at weighing the benefits and the detriments, determine if those changes have affected any of your calculations as well. So that's that. I'm happy to answer any questions, or if you have them for Mr. Osceola in particular.
Okay. With that being said, does the board members have any questions of the planner?
Just have a comment. Currently, there's a convenience store, and I assume there's a certain amount of business and traffic coming into it. Now, the person wants to add a Dunkin' Donuts. That, to me, would say that we want to increase the traffic coming into that place, because why would he want to add something if he doesn't think he's going to get more people coming in and out of that site? So is there some, I'm looking at, there's a projection that the traffic situation might get worse. Okay, because why is he adding something if he doesn't think he's going to make more business, which means more traffic coming in and out? And I know about the impervious coverage, but you're still taking up capacity. I know you put in pavers so that your impervious coverage comes down, but that's still taking up capacity for cars to be in there or something like that.
Well, that's why we did the whole traffic report and, presented Mr. Verderisi's testimony. And I think the one comment from the board and the police department was for us to, in addition to the no left turn in that exists today, to make the no left turn out. That was the one concern. which we agreed to do. But I think Mr. Verderisi's testimony was that the increase in traffic would be fairly minimal based on the fact that it's all passed by, and and also the size of the addition, which isn't that large. But I understand your point, but I think that's why the police department said that if you're going to do this, make that no left turn out a condition of the approval, which we agreed to do.
Yeah, because I don't want to just usurp Mr. Verderisi's testimony, but.
I just did, so
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
okay.
yeah, well, I'll just do it. Yeah, so, but Francine, essentially, with pass-by traffic, it's that there might be more cars entering the site, but it's not necessarily going to bring more people to the intersection that weren't already there. And so, they are adding more parking spaces on the site, which is over what's required from our ordinance. But that's, the pass-by, it's that, they might not be going to the site, but that typically it's people who are already in the vicinity anyway. And also, maybe they're buying, not to make it the case, but maybe someone's going to Dunkin' and the convenience store now instead of just the convenience store. So, yeah, there's a few ways you can weigh that. But yeah, I think I would say, especially with having the two uses and you're never sure about who's going to use what. Sometimes you might go there and you won't even get gas. So I think that adding the parking space, additional parking, but making them impervious is a good pervious is a good compromise.
Yeah, and also,
There'll be
sorry.
more traffic, there could be a little bit more traffic going in and out, because now there might be a few people who just stop into the Dunkin' Donuts and don't buy gas at the convenience store.
And this was all testified to, but essentially it's that with use like this, people are not going, the vast majority of users here are not going to be, at home and say, I'm specifically going to go out of my way to go here. They're going to go whatever's on their way already and what's more convenient. So it's not going to necessarily add many trips to the intersection.
Right, so it's not adding trips to the intersection, it could be adding more trips in and out of that island.
I will defer to the applicant, and I think the answer is not. I think their testimony was that it was be negligible.
As was determined by the county and DOT.
Right. That's what I was about to say. Is that also this application just confirming is that it is subject to both DOT
Right,
and county
and as
approval
Mr.
because of the
Verderisi-
two roads.
Right, and as Mr. That was due to the fact that the size of the Dunkin', as Mr. Palis indicated, is it's not a big Dunkin', it's a very small one.
Okay, any other board questions of the planner? Or we could even open it up to anybody? Because, I don't know, it's getting late and we have to either vote on it or not vote on it. I'm inclined to try to get it done tonight. So let's ask all our questions and we'll stay a little extra if it has to be so we can get it done tonight. So, does anybody have more questions on the planner, and then we'll open it up to the public, and then we'll have a discussion, or we'll open up to more questions of all the professionals? Okay, so, does anybody in the public have any questions on this planner? Nope. Okay, board members, do you have more to talk about?
No, I was just going to give a closing and just sum up, but I can do that whenever you want me to, Mr.
Okay,
Chairman.
then why don't you do that before, well, I want the board to think about everything and
Sure.
maybe ask any more
Sure,
questions of
that's fine.
anybody that
That's fine.
might have come up in their mind. Go ahead.
I have a question, or whatever. I know you talked about the signage, and I'm not as much concerned about the change of the shell with the gas and everything, but the signage on the buildings.
Yeah.
How, can you just give me an example? If I looked at a regular Dunkin' Donuts, are you making bigger signs or small, I
They were-
just
I
don't
mean,
want these glaring
They're,
signs.
they're very, I mean, if you saw them, I'll let Kate maybe respond, because she's the professional, but I believe they were very in scale with the building, and I think the chairman rightfully so, and I agreed with this, because when I saw the plan also, there was no need to have that sign on the back of the building.
Right.
That was overkill. And so, now that there was never one proposed on the, sorry, get the directions there.
South.
On the southerly side, there was never one proposed there, because that faced the residential zone. But we've also now eliminated the one on the east side. So there's really just signs on the building as it faces the parking lot and then faces Route 35. But I'll let Kate comment on the scale of the signage on the building.
Yes. So that is, yeah, I agree, is that the applicant has agreed to remove the signs on the one side of the building, because it's actually kind of a double good thing, because they're keeping the trees, so the signs won't be visible anyway. But in general, so if one thing is in Homedale Township, there is not a separate sign ordinance for this zone. So even though this is the Route 35 zone, it's the same sign standards as you would have in the village or anywhere else. So in that context, I think that the variances that that they're requesting are fairly minimal. And I think they put on the accurate testimony reflecting that. But, you know, they get an extra freestanding sign because it's a gas station, but otherwise they have to meet the same standards as everywhere else in the township that's in a business district. So, you know, I think in proportion, you know, I don't know offhand the exact area, but I think in proportion to many of the signs that I've seen, you know, you may see in other municipalities, you may see Dunkin' Donuts will have a big cup on the side. They may have a runs on Dunkin'. There's all kinds of wording. I think these in general are very minimal.
Any other
As
questions?
someone who drives around New Jersey at night a lot, I see a lot of lit up Dunkin' Donuts signs. I'm sure Jason agrees.
Any other questions from the board members on any professionals at all?
Bill, can I ask a question again? And I'm like all hyped up on this Laurel Ave driveway exit. Because this is my concern. People want to turn right, that's fine, but then they want to make a left to go down technically what's Highway 35 North, but I know in our picture is probably west. And what I see, because I drive that road almost every day, is people from the jug handler trying to do the same thing, and they have to go across 2 lanes of traffic that go straight to even try to make that left. So now we're saying they can't go left onto Laurel, so we saved some traffic.
Right.
But my concern is it's a very short distance from that driveway to the right where they want to go left. And that, I'm really concerned how they're going to compete with the jug handle traffic and the people who are already going straight.
Yeah, but I don't see how that.
Make it not an exit. Make it an entrance only, and you have to exit onto 35. That's how you fix that. You can't exit that way, or you make it an exit, and there's signage, because there's one in Shrewsbury that's popping into my head, where it says, this exit for Laurel Avenue only, not, or Highway 35 and Laurel Avenue only, not Highway 35 North. That is my concern, is that's where the traffic I'm concerned about. I'm not concerned about the necessarily traffic going in. I get it, it's a pass-by thing. But if I'm on Laurel, I pass by it every day because I want to turn left onto 35. And I say, oh, there's a Dunkin', I should go in. For me to get out and make that left onto 35, it's a very short distance. And in the morning, those cars have to be nice to let you in.
But that's really a county issue, because Laurel's a county road. I mean, I think the fact that we've even been willing to give up the left, which was also a county issue, but changing the fact that it's an full access driveway is really a county issue, and we applied to the county, and they've reviewed it.
And that type of use, basically, a lot of people are going to those stores. It's gonna be residents like yourself. After a while, if you realize it's too hard to get to the left lane, you're not gonna go there. You're gonna go somewhere else if you have to go northbound on Route 35. You learn, you adapt.
I see your point.
I mean, that's my concern.
I
That's why I
understand.
don't take that jug handle, because I am afraid to go through 2 lanes of traffic. So I'm very concerned, because now the distance is even closer to the traffic lane. It's not further away. So it's just not a big distance. That's my only issue the whole time with this, is that one driveway.
I don't know if it is actually closer. Is it?
It is. It's before the jug handle and then the
Well,
driveway.
the
But
jug
you can already,
handle,
but you can already do that.
yeah.
Yeah, but when we're adding the Dunkin' Donuts, you're saying it's a pass-by thing, so if more people are anticipated to go in and they
Oh,
still
I'm
have
sorry.
to
I
go
thought.
to work.
Yeah, I understand that. I thought
Yeah,
you were.
but-
I thought you were saying that they were moving the driveway closer to the
No,
intersection,
Wouldn't
which
the
they are
people
not.
be coming down 35 heading east
That's
and then
different.
go
I'm
in that
talking
way and go out
only
that
the
way?
people about Laurel. I'm talking the people
So
for
coming up
driving
Laurel-
there.
Laura,
Yeah,
I
I
would
know.
just defer to, and I don't remember the numbers offhand, but the traffic engineering testimony where, you know, the number of new users on the site will be fairly minimal.
I
But
understand your point. and
Understood.
I-
Because when you look at it,
If you really wanted to play it safe, you would be right, but I'm happy that they eliminated the left, which to me isn't more of a
I couldn't
problem.
even imagine making one.
Yeah, that is definitely an issue. I've seen them. So, okay. If anybody doesn't have any other questions, which I'm not saying we won't go back to it, we'll let the attorney do his closing.
You asked for public questions, but you do public comment.
Okay, public questions and comments at this point? None? Okay, none. Can we have a closing statement from the attorney?
Yeah, I just had one quick question. It's just this number is totally holding us. No, I just wanted to further just answer, just even though it is a county and DOT road.
That would be great.
Yeah, the difference in traffic in total, I'll give you like an example, this is all in the report that I'm just citing, is, for example, 33 cars in the morning, but that's amongst all the driveways. So the amount that is coming out of that one, just if you divide it by 4, it's like the increase is, to Kate's point, I just wanted to look at the report and,
Yes.
and reinforce it, is maybe a handful to 6 or 7 more cars. It's not 60 or 70 more vehicles. I just wanted you to know we did research that. Okay, that's all. So I just wanted to make sure we properly addressed your question.
And that 33 is the added trips in a peak hour.
Right.
So that, and that's spread across all driveways.
Right. Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, I just wanted to make sure
And
we.
that was
we-
the number. That was the number that I did not have
Yeah,
offhand.
they were all like, yeah. Okay.
All right, go ahead.
Yeah, no, thank you. So again, I just want to thank the board for its time and all their professionals for reviewing everything. I'll just stick to the D1 aspect of this. Even though it's multiple uses on one lot, I think the trend has been, as everyone knows, is there are these coffee shops within these types of facilities. A lot of them do have drive-throughs, which we're not proposing in connection with this application. But the fact of the matter is, this is very common where you see a convenience store where those types of goods are sold, and coffee and things of that nature. So this is a compatible use. It's not a situation where you have multiple uses, where there are 3 separate buildings and there are 3 separate uses that aren't connected. The uses are here are really in one building, and they're very common to be together. So I think the use variance, although it's strange to say, is really a technical use variance in this regard. But we're doing a lot to this site to make it better. The landscaping is improving. The aesthetics are improving. Right now, if you look at the building, you can see all the mechanicals on the roof, satellite dishes, a lot of things that really aren't pleasant to look at. The applicant who purchased the property fairly recently wants to really upgrade it and make it look a lot better for the public. So from an aesthetic standpoint, it's getting better. We're adding more parking spaces. We're adding a loading zone. We're adding a lot of screening and landscaping along the exterior. We're improving the lighting. And I think with the conditions that we've discussed throughout the course of this evening, the project got even better from when it came in. So these are the conditions that I have in council. If you just let me know if you agree, if you cited any others.
When there's a motion, if as soon as a motion approved, let me read them, and then just you follow along. It's easier.
Yeah,
Okay.
sure.
Because that's how we.
Yeah,
That's fine. I was just going to say, the stormwater that we've said we would add, I think is going to be an improvement. Saving those trees per the Environmental Commission's letter will be not only a visual improvement, but also for stormwater management purposes, not ripping up some of those trees, I think it was a good idea. Adding the bollard by the propane, I thought also was something that was made the project better, and also that the no left turn that we discussed. So I think collectively, the project got even improved significantly since we came in front of the board. But there's a lot of positives here. I think the planner's testimony regarding the negative criteria is spot on. There really won't be any substantial detriment to the public good. And in fact, I think we're actually furthering aspects of your master plan as a result of this application. So I would request that the board grant the application with all the conditions that we talked about this evening, and with all the stipulations and representations that we made, and also subject to the comments set forth in Collier's letter, your planner's letter, and also the interdepartment comments that were made as part of the application. So thank you very much.
Okay, thank you for that closing. Okay, board members, if you want, we can have a little discussion, your comments on what your thoughts are, and then I want to try to wrap this up quickly. We could have a vote on this tonight, and that's what is on the plan. So, anybody have any comments on what they want to say? Say anything? Jason, I know you have something.
Yeah, does anyone want to go first? I don't want to cut anyone off.
Go ahead, you go first.
No, I was just going to say, based on a testimony that's been provided tonight, I think it's been very persuasive. That the positive criteria has been met. I think this will be beneficial to the community as a whole. I agree that there's no substantial detriment to the public good or the neighbors. So I'm inclined to vote yes on this variance, given, again, I'm going to just state my 3 things again, maintaining the existing 33 mature trees, and if possible, around the back of the building, since we are adding all that new impervious space, that we're gonna add another storm water basin there behind the building. No left-hand turn signal, I think from a safety perspective, and, you know, I've heard Lori too. I think that's a good compromise, Lori, that we're at least adding the no left-hand turn signal on Laurel there, the exit out of Laurel. And then you know, and then to Dimitri's point, I think the, you know, the sign on the back of the building was really meaningless. So I think if all those conditions, I think I read out 4 conditions are met, I am inclined to vote yes on this variance.
Any other board members have any comments?
They talk about improving the site, and there won't be any supplies on the outside of the building, similar to the way it is. Does that have to be a condition for our approval to make sure?
Yeah,
Because,
we're putting it
you know, a
as
lot of
condition.
people say we're not gonna do it, and then they do it. When you go back.
No, that's
we
fine.
have to- So
I would
a
have-
condition, no.
Yeah, that is a condition already.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank
The
you.
only thing we had on the outside was the propane that existed.
Right. Anything else? Any other comments from any other board members?
No, I think it's in general, it's going to be an asset to the community, as long as, you know, with these conditions.
Okay. A comment that I should have made before and I forgot is the landscaping that you're proposing in the back. I know that was discussed, but I just don't want you to put all that landscaping in lieu of cutting trees down to fit it in there. So if you want to supplement some in there, and I think this is going to be something that we'll let the engineer look at. I mean, the trees you have there, we want, but if you want to add a few more, and not to the extent that I see here, there's quite a bit on the plans, I don't think you may need to put that much in there. But I'll leave it up to the engineer. I just don't want you to strip trees and cut trees in order to plant new trees.
Understood, that's fine. That's fine.
Okay?
Angela wanted to say.
Go ahead, Angela.
I just wanted to just to confirm again that that vacuum is going to stay where it is and it won't move over to where that entrance
Yeah,
is.
well-
I know it's a small point, but
No,
I am
it's
just
okay.
concerned about the cars coming
No,
in.
it'll be where it's reflected on the drawing.
Okay.
Yeah, so Angela, the vacuum is moving from where it is today. But
Right,
it's
but
moving-
consistent with this, it'll move to consistent with this
exactly
plan.
with this plan.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. If there's no other comments, did I leave anything out, Marty? No. All right, can we have a motion from somebody?
I'd like to, motion to approve the plans here and give the D1 variance.
Okay, so we have a motion. You can second.
Yeah,
we have a
I'll second that motion.
And there's one thing we have to add to your motion, is provided the special conditions that Marty's gonna read. Is that okay?
Yes, sir.
Okay, Marty, so go down all the conditions and you can check,
Most
make
of
sure
the
we got it.
conditions are what we agreed to on the record, but the ones I have noted here, we're gonna keep the 33 trees in the back, but work with the board engineer for any supplemental additional. I'm sorry, it's not on? I'm sorry. Condition 1, keep the 33 existing trees in the back, east side.
Press the button, go ahead.
But work with the board engineer for any supplemental. Number 2 is to eliminate the east side wall sign. Number 3 is to comply with all the technical comments in the board review letters. Number 4 is to replace any monitoring wells if they are disturbed. Number 5 is to work with our board engineer on possible stormwater basin or some kind of facilities on the northwest corner, as well as the east grass area to the extent possible. Number 6, to revise the plans to show deliveries in the front only, that front door only, eliminate the notation for the back door. Number 7, to bollards, if needed, at the propane tank, working with our board engineer with that determination. Number 8, to comply with the February 19th, 2025 interdepartmental review letter, which is both Board of Health, Director of Infrastructure, Fire Official, as well as the Traffic Safety Officer. And I'll just repeat for the record, that Traffic Safety Officer's comment is the no left out onto Laurel Avenue. Number 9 is to work with our board engineer to possibly do I already said this, I'm sorry, no, this is different. Low shrubs in that northwest grass area. And number 10, no outside storage other than the existing propane facility that
When
you
you
have
say
now.
storage or display.
Or display,
Sales,
right.
Yes, I would add outdoor storage display or sales, something
Right.
like that.
And-
Right.
And that's what I have, so those 10.
You good?
We're good.
Okay. Can we have a vote, roll call for a vote?
Mr. Berkeley?
Yes, definitely.
Ms. Campus,
Yes.
Ms. Gerhart,
I have to vote now.
Mr. Luciani,
I'll vote yes.
Mr. Ofanopoulos,
Yes.
Mr. Marzocca,
Yes.
Ms. Costello,
Yes.
Mr. Frigiola.
Yes.
Thank you.
Wait, he's not seated.
He's not seated. So we have 7.
Mark is not seated. What?
No.
I'm
No, no.
sorry?
Six
Just
to
take
1.
him off, yeah.
6 to 1.
Yeah, I know.
And that was for all the variances, preliminary and final site plan,
It's
correct?
for
Yeah,
all
what happened
variances.
with the D3?
So where's Gene? Your motion is to approve all the variances, the D1, the possible D3 if it's needed, and all the bulk variances, is that correct? Correct. So
Yeah.
for the record, it includes.
Yeah, and site plan, right?
And obviously the site plan.
Yeah, okay, okay. Thank you very much, everybody.
Okay,
Thank
thank
you.
you,
Thank you.
guys.
Thank you.
It'll be nice. I'm sure it will be. Okay, next item on the agenda is professional reports. Do we have anything, Marty, to talk about? All right. The only thing, make sure you bring all your folders, your green ones, leave them up front here. And whatever stuff you don't want to take back to your house, make a separate pile. It gets recycled.
Yeah, you know, I'm gonna take this, yeah.
It gets recycled. Okay, can I have a motion?
I just
to
need
close?
motion to adjourn.
Can I have a motion to adjourn?
I move to adjourn.
I'll second that motion.
Thank you, have a good night.
Thank you.